questions. Unfortunately, the question and answer session, though, is ending there in Uvalde. An extraordinary news conference being given, though, by the U.S. Attorney General. We also had the Associate Attorney General, Vanita Gupta, speaking there, as well as the Director of the Community-Oriented Policing Services, Hugh Clements. Just listening to this, first of all, just so you know, at that community center in Uvalde where all of that just took place, as we understand it, the families of the victims of the Robb Elementary massacre were in that room listening to all of those speakers go over this nearly 600-page report released today by the Department of Justice about all of the, what they call cascading failures in the response to the Robb Elementary shooting almost 2 years ago. As we understand it, those families are getting ready to hold their own news conference just outside that community center, and so we are standing by for that so that we can bring that to you as well. Rebecca Lopez, senior crime and justice reporter here at WFAA, and senior political reporter Jason Whiteley up here as well. You listen to everything that was detailed there, and your heart just hurts for the victims, for the families, for the survivors. We knew so much of what was in this report coming into today. I think the picture that we're getting, though, has been filled in some very tragic ways. I go back to my takeaway from this was no plan for triage.
Right.
Assistant AG Gupta saying that the failure wasn't just the 77 minutes that it took for them to go in and kill the shooter. The failure continued on minute 78 and beyond. You were putting kids who were wounded into buses without being triaged first. You had a child that was put down on the ground outside who ended up dying there. You had kids who had already died being taken by the ambulances meantime to the hospital. Yeah. It is just wrenching, and it has, you think about the families in that room listening to those details. Yeah,
it's a complete leadership failure. And for instance, here in Dallas, the fire department will train with the police department. Same in Fort Worth and in the big cities, they train together so that you know the triage, you know who the incident commander is going to be out at the scene. None of that happened.
There was
here.
So much time.
There was just so much time to figure out who's in charge. Let's get the ambulances. Let's get the triage. Let's see what's going to happen. You have doctors. You have nurses. Parkland, for instance, is one of the triage areas as well of what they're going to do outside the hospital. I mean, there's just so many things that they did not properly train for, and it is really kind of shocking that a school district with its own police department did not train in any of this prior, obviously, to this happening.
And again, we're waiting for those families. We understand there's some movement there, so we may be going to them here in just a few minutes. Jason, you've been pressing about the whole issue of accountability all along, all the way up to the governor. Of course, the DPS director serves at the pleasure of the governor. The DPS director widely criticized in this report, in fact, for instances of misinformation just after this incident had occurred, according to the DOJ. You see again there a live picture just outside that community center where the U.S. Attorney General just got done speaking. It looks like we're just getting set up there. I don't believe that this is a family member. I think they're just checking the microphones, etc. But Jason, on that accountability note, you've been pressing the governor on this. This report is not going to do that. This was just looking at what went wrong.
Sure.
They're leaving the rest to the DA, who has been maligned and criticized here for the fact that we're almost 2 years from this incident and still nothing.
Yeah, the DA in Uvalde County is Christina Mitchell. We still don't know if when her investigation is going to end. Listen, it's easy for us to sit up here on Monday Morning Quarterback this, talk about hindsight being 20/20, but we have other examples since then. We have Allen, Texas.
Yeah.
You had one police officer confront the shooter and take the shooter out. You had the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. One police officer, several went in, one police officer charged that individual and shot and killed that person.
The 7/7 shooting here in
7/7
downtown Dallas.
Brent Thompson, the DART officer, went and shot the shooter, Micah Johnson. He put his life at risk and saved countless of lives.
And all he had was a sidearm.
He ran to he had his sidearm, and he ran towards that gunfire. That is what you do. That is what you're trained to do. And again, part of the training is if you do not have the courage to do that, to protect innocent lives as a law enforcement officer, you should not be a law enforcement officer.
A couple other takeaways that I had here. The Attorney General said the most significant failure of the day, to cap it all off that day, was cops changing their response from an active shooter to a barricaded suspect. As Rebecca has mentioned, they changed the way they respond to that. An active shooter, they're supposed to go in and take the person out. Barricaded suspect, they have a different response to it. Merrick Garland also pointed out, despite 400 police officers being there and failing to act that day, he did say, and we all know this, policing is a noble profession. It's also a hard one. Vanita Gupta, the assistant there, also saying too, we take law enforcement for granted. That we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's clear they're not trying to pile on here.
Right.
What they're
They're
saying
not.
is, and you heard Vanita Gupta saying this, this is really hard to look at. This is really hard to keep going through. It's hard to look at the truth, she said, but then she said, we cannot look away. Let's listen into the families in Uvalde now.